Hi, this is Gary with another intentionally unscripted episode of MacMost Now. Today let's take a look at one of the coolest features in Leopard, screen sharing. So screen sharing is the ability of one Mac to control another Mac from across the internet. And it does this by putting the screen of the second Mac in a window on your computer, and you can go ahead and click on icons and type on your keyboard and do all sorts of things. Let's take a look at how to set it up and what you can do with it. Okay, so the first step of the process is setting up screen sharing on the computer that you're going to be controlling. So you do this by going to the System Preferences on that machine, going into the Sharing option and turning on screen sharing. Now, in the screen sharing options here, you can see a couple different things. One is allow all users, which means all the users that are set up on that machine, typically usually just the one user. You can also add specific users, so you can create a new user and add them just for the purpose of screen sharing. You can also go ahead and set some things up. You can ask for anyone who has permission to control the screen, or VNC viewers may control the screen with a special password. For most usage, you're not even going to want to worry about these. You're just going to want to let the person controlling the machine control everything about the machine. Another thing you might want to note is the IP address of the machine you're going to control. Now, of course, this is a local IP address. It's just valid within the network. If there's a static IP address that you have outside the network, it'll show that here, and that'll be very important for you to get control of the other machine. Now, this is the trickiest part of the entire thing, knowing the IP address of the other machine. Now, there's actually two ways to get around it if you do not have a static IP address. One is to use port forwarding in your router to forward port 5900 to the Mac in question. So in other words, if you got a static IP address, but then your router and your cable modem or DSL modem gives you a local IP address, then you just use port forwarding to do that. And it varies in terms of router to router. You have to check your documentation. An easier way to do it is use iChat. iChat, if you can establish an iChat between two Macs and they're both using Leopard, you can actually start screen sharing between the two Macs using iChat, and it figures it all out for you. But if you just want to avoid iChat and just go directly to the other machine, it helps to use port forwarding or to have a static IP address. One way to find out your IP address is to use a web page that tells you your IP address. For instance, we've got one at MacMost. Or you can go into your network settings and get the static IP address. Once you have an IP address, you're ready to go. Let's take a look at what you do next. Okay, so on the other machine, if you're not doing this with iChat, all you need to do is connect. Command K, or in Finder, go and connect to server. Then you type in VNC:// and the IP address of the server. In this case, it's a local IP address. I'm connecting between two machines in the same office. And then you hit connect. What will happen next is you'll get a connection window. And this window asks you to type your name and password. Now, you need to type the name and password that's accepted by that machine. So you can see here I've got the window inside of my Macintosh desktop, and this is showing what's happening on the other computer. It even has the dock at the bottom of it as well. There we go. So now I can control this computer completely, open up files, do whatever I need to do, even go into System Preferences and change things. It's very powerful, so you want to be careful that somebody you don't want gets your password and try to do this. But this is great for a lot of different things. So here are 3 examples of how you could use this. Suppose you have a friend or relative that's always asking you for computer advice, and you're always on the phone with them walking them through step by step how to do something. Well, instead you can actually do screen sharing and actually do it for them and show them at the same time. Another thing you can do is if you have a computer at home or at work and you're in the opposite place, you can go ahead and control that other machine using screen sharing. You don't have to worry about setting up services like file sharing and things like that in advance and having them not work quite right when you get to the other location. Just set up screen sharing. When you get to the other location, you could turn screen sharing on and control the other computer that way. And another thing you can do is use this for security. Since screen sharing is completely secure, you can go ahead and log into your work machine while on the road and access some sensitive files that way, instead of doing something less secure like accessing those files directly. So it can come in handy for those sorts of things. And there's dozens of other uses as well. So give screen sharing a try and see if it's useful for you. It certainly is for me. Until next time, this is Gary Rosenzweig with MacMost Now.